night.
5 people were arrested. 2 people suffered non-life-threatening injuries, including one of the responding officers. Samantha Cavalli brings us more details surrounding what initiated the fight in a First Alert update.
A funeral service turned violent Thursday evening, resulting in 5 people being arrested and 2 people injured. On Friday, 3 of the 5 appeared in Brown County Court. Police responded to Blaney Funeral Home on Shawano Avenue around 7 p.m. Thursday for a disturbance. They found at least 30 people were involved in a fight after someone showed up to the funeral service who was asked not to attend, therefore causing a disturbance. According to the criminal complaint, Brandon Harris was attending a funeral for his friend when his cousin Anthony Stokes showed up drunk, causing a disturbance. Court documents indicate that witnesses pointed out Stokes as the instigator of the fight by shouting and speaking over the preacher at the funeral.
Witnesses say someone grabbed Stokes and others joined in pushing him outside of these doors behind me, yelling at him to leave. That's when, quote, chaos erupted and everyone began fighting outside of the funeral home.
Harris says he saw Stokes and his stepdad start to fight, and that's when Harris jumped in to defend his stepfather. Harris and Xavier Shepard are both charged with obstructing an officer and disorderly conduct. Stokes is charged with 2 counts of disorderly conduct. As we've reported, a responding police officer was hurt during the incident, but their injuries were described as non-life-threatening. All 3 men are expected back in court later in June. Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News, Green Bay.